Welcome to EuropeLate, Europe's #1 satire news provider, with your host, Sadra Sumner.
Yes! Hello and welcome everyone to the first episode of EuropeLate. EuropeLate is Europe's own late-night comedy show. We are committed to bringing you the news that's twice as true as regular news. Thanks to the Ukraine-induced economic crisis, our budgets have clearly been cut. But being cut has never stopped a Jew before. On the plus side, we didn't have a budget to start with, so we started from the bottom, now we're still at the bottom. My name is Sadra Sumner, and I will be your host for EuropeLate. But don't worry, we'll have plenty of other correspondents joining me. Even a few straight white males, but not too many. Why am I qualified for this position? I have a degree in politics I've never used. I've also never worn blackface, got caught drunk driving, or asked someone if I could masturbate in front of them. But the night is young. Now, why are we doing this show? Well, Europe is a rich place with many different cultures and people, and in order to get it right, you need to have a thoughtful approach to integrating all of the different angles. But then I saw Greta Thunberg teach presidents how to recycle, and I watched Meghan Markle teach Brits how to kill the Queen. And I looked on as so many idiots started making bread during the pandemic, and I thought, I can do anything. Except choose a ripe avocado. You know, you buy it, and then the next day it's brown. I don't know, it's a whole thing. So anyway, that's why I'm qualified to bring you Europe's news via a late-night show fully funded by charities that I opened during the pandemic. And I know what you're thinking, just another American woman that probably gave some executive a blowjob to get this position. And that's where you're wrong. We all had to give blowjobs to the producers to get these positions. Sorry, producer. There you go, Nick. Remember the pineapple next time. And by the way, this team is amazing. We have correspondents, we have camera and sound people, and as surprising as it seems, we have a group of writers who vetted this before I got on stage. So if you don't like it so far, it's not my fault. I take zero responsibility for this show. That I'm hosting every 2 weeks right here. Don't cancel me, cancel them, it's not my fault. Now, we're filming this show in Paris, and I assume you guys here know that. You did know that, right? Yeah. Great. We have a very enthusiastic producer, but I'm guessing he didn't drug you and bring you here. Unless he did, in which case I still hope you enjoy the show. That info was for the millions of people watching us on YouTube from their parents' basement, in yesterday's underwear, eating flaming hot Cheetos. Because that's the demographic our marketing consultant told us we would appeal to. What up, Jason? Get your ass off the couch and get a job. Or come to Europe, where you can collect unemployment like 47% of our audience. So what are we? That's the question I've asked every guy I've ever dated. We're the best of both worlds, a late night show and a news show. We're an evolution of the boring news your parents used to watch. Kind of like the latest flavor of COVID. We're mashing American entertainment and European ethics, because you wouldn't want it the other way around. And with late night and news, you get 2 for 1. We're like a login and a password, like Hall & Oates, like a MacBook and an unemployed screenwriter. One without the other would be useless. We're bringing you Europe's news in a centralized place so that you don't have to rely on individual news networks like France 24, Deutsche Welle, or Radio Televisione, or hear it from your Greek kebab chef, Papalopoulos. And I know that right now I'm just another American who's going to give her American view of the world. Well, think again, because 23andMe said I was 2% undefined. So I'm one of you guys. And the the team was selected based on modern diversity standards. We have an Arab, a Greek, an Albanian, a Spaniard, even a disabled person.
Hey, I'm not disabled. I'm really left-handed.
Shut up, Alex. Get back in your wheelchair. One of the writers is a cisgender white male, but we're working on it. He doesn't know this yet, but he's transitioning next month. So what's special about our show? First, we're committed to telling you the truth because we don't have any sponsors pushing their agenda. It's not for lack of trying, though. For real. China, Qatar, if you guys see anything you like here, please get in touch. We don't have an ethics manager yet, so you can get in on the ground floor. And finally, Europe is a complicated place with a myriad of different cultures, and yet no news show is dedicated to this demographic. So we'll be filming here, live, every 2 weeks in Paris, and we would love for you to come out to a show, tell your friends, watch us on YouTube, follow us on Instagram, follow us in real life, send us your TikTok dance videos, name your firstborn after me, create a drinking game, murder someone so we have something to report, just send my mom a text message telling her I'm mildly funny. Really anything you can do will help. I really need this gig to work out. This is my last-ditch attempt to be famous before I start an OnlyFans account. Let's get to the news. In response to Turkey blocking Finland's NATO admission, the Finnish foreign minister said, "We should just take a break." Turkish President Erdogan replied he feels confused as he doesn't know if they're allowed to see other countries. Russian President Vladimir Putin commented, "This is what a break means," as he winked and slid the Turkish president 2 strawberry vodka shots. Poland has announced that it will send tanks to Ukraine, which is the first time in a European conflict the tanks are leaving Poland. Rafael Nadal lost at the Australian Open. Nadal claimed it was due to a bad hip. I suppose we won't see him on the next celebrity dancing game show, but if his hips are failing, the French president might be into him. Ireland's fishing industry is declining, marking a significant change in Irish cuisine that no one noticed, including the Irish. After the Great Irish Potato Famine in 1850, this is the second time the Irish politely tried to tell the Brits they hate fish and chips. Climate activists are throwing cans of soup at well-known paintings in an effort to bring awareness to climate change. Strangely, when soup was thrown on a Jackson Pollock, it increased the value of the painting. The activists were unsure of what to do when faced with Andy Warhol's Campbell's Soup collection. 2 micropigs have been rescued after a motorist in the UK found them tied to a lamppost by the side of the road. Once freed, they complained that they didn't use their safe word yet. Bacon bits. Do you guys know what micropigs are? They're extremely small pigs. They're the puppies of pigs. Back at it. Report says sexual harassment in France is among the highest in the EU. A local Frenchman said, "But we are very polite, and when we see a beautiful woman, we must, show her our baguette." Greta Thunberg shows the world that eco-friendly transportation is possible. You just need 4 hunky German police officers to carry you everywhere. Transportation via police officers is also Andrew Tate's preferred method. Tesla is developing a new crash test dummies based on the most frequent types of accidents. The most recent model specializes in tunnel accidents. Too soon? Russian officials were excluded from the 78th celebration of the liberation of Auschwitz, marking the first time in history anyone's ever complained about not being invited to Auschwitz. New study reveals regular trips to the park could reduce the need for antidepressants and naturally increase happiness. Local homeless man says, "Not really." Over 30 Palestinian children have been murdered by Israel IDF forces just this year. American officials didn't condemn the war crimes, but added, If you're aiming at the kids, make sure it's during school hours. I'm American. I can say it. A passenger attempted to bring a bomb on a Ryanair flight. He would have been the first eco-friendly terrorist. Unfortunately, the bomb didn't fit under the seat in front of him, so he was forced to purchase a pet ticket and register it as an emotional support bomb. Kate Middleton, the Princess of Wales, released an open letter saying that the British people should focus more on the developmental needs of children under the age of 5. Prince Andrew commented, "That's what I've been trying to do." An extra crumbly Greek feta recently won a gold medal at a European cheese contest. Critics claimed it was too easy since the cheese was inspired by Greece's economy. And that's been the news headlines. Now we're going to kick it over to our British correspondent, Tom Henry.
Thank you, Sadra. All over Britain, people are finding it harder and harder to get their eggs. And even when you can find them, people are paying astronomical prices. So we came down to the farm to find out what is causing this existential crisis. These chickens are on strike. Like many industries in the UK, these chickens are striking over pay and working conditions. It's easy to see why they're striking. Forced to live outside, scrabbling around in the dirt for food, living in nothing more than a chicken coop. And this chicken coop has fast become a workers' coup. I wanted to understand why farmers think these are acceptable conditions for their staff. So why do you think these are acceptable conditions for your staff?
Staff? The chickens! They're as chickens, what do you mean conditions? They're in good condition, look at them lad, they're in fine fettle. Chickens don't need conditions, they just need earth and muck.
This shocking indictment of the attitude management has to their staff reveals a culture of exploitation and capitalism gone mad. When I realised the farmers wouldn't even start a dialogue with the fowls, I wondered if I could intervene to break down barriers and restart negotiations. Ma'am, could I ask you a few questions, please? Just a few questions? Stonewalled. Unlike their eggs, these chickens don't crack. A single, solitary egg. For the people of Britain, one egg simply isn't enough. It's Thomas Henry for EuropeLate. Back to you, Sadra.
Tonight, we are talking about Europe. And as we apparently are all facing impending doom, I'm sure you have that one friend who is posting on Facebook every day, "We need to save Donbass. Donbass needs to be saved." Calm down, Brad. A week ago, you thought Donbass was a freshwater fish. I bet you didn't even notice that this wasn't a map of Donbass. It's Atlantis. Coincidentally, Atlantis is also not part of the EU. And yes, Europe stands in solidarity with Ukraine, but Ukraine is not in the EU, but it is in Europe. I mean, how far east does Europe go? Japan? Now, if you don't know the answer, feel no shame, because we asked our producer to point to Ukraine on a map, and we got very close to doing a segment on Montenegro. And as a white woman, I'm not even sure I should be saying that word. Which goes to show you, even Europeans don't know which countries are inside Europe. And this is the question we want to ask today in our special segment, What is Europe? Which countries are in the European Union? What's their common goal? What unites them, aside from cock-blocking Turkey from joining the EU? If the EU were Mean Girls, Turkey would be Lindsay Lohan before the boob job, but still with the cocaine problems. Most importantly, why did they choose Brussels as a capital? You're telling me you could have chosen Paris or Rome and you went with the city best known for waffles instead? If you Google the most iconic thing in Brussels, you get a statue of a small naked boy. And I'm pretty sure I've already seen a live reenactment of that one in the Vatican. To help us answer all of those questions, we've designed a game to understand Europe. Can I have a jingle, please? Welcome to Are You in EU, the game. Okay, so here's the game. We're going to show you outlines of countries, and then you have to guess what the country is. Sound good? Great. Can anyone guess this one? We have beer, leprechauns, and tax evasion. That's correct. It is Ireland. Okay, number 2. Any guesses? That is not Liechtenstein, that's Wakanda. Number 3. That's correct, it is Poland. Very good. I thought only rich countries were in the EU. Okay. Number 4. Any guesses? We heard Cyprus. This one is actually Gorbachev's birthmark. And number 5. Yes, this is clearly a map of Ukraine. This just in, Kiev is now in Russia, and next month, Paris will be too. Did you enjoy this? I love a good game. It brings out the competitive spirit and the collective stupidity. Now, I know us Americans don't have the best reputation for history, geography, math, science, manners, not starting wars, bombing innocent countries, overthrowing foreign governments, running offshore prisons with no rule of law, not supporting the apartheid state. Sorry, what was I saying? Sorry. Was there a point in that sentence, guys? One of the writers has family in Guantanamo. Anyway, the point was that I know it's a little ironic for an American to explain the EU to a European audience, so that's why I made you tell me what those countries are. Now I know. But let's get serious and dive into a bit of history. According to my research on Bing, Europe was invented in 1562 by a blind cartographer, Cornelius F. Europe. For a while, Europe was known for having the best countries in the world. Thanks to Europe, we had the Renaissance movement, which gave us beautiful artwork. Then we had the Enlightenment, which promoted free thinking and philosophy. And then we had the French Revolution, which was like taking 2 steps forward and 1 step back. On one hand, a monarchy was dismantled that inspired other countries to follow suit. On the other hand, it gave rise to Napoleon, who mansplained his way around Europe, but also had horrible hemorrhoids. Now, after Europe got to a certain age, much like a washed-up actress, Europe decided it would bring its talents to its fan base, which was reluctantly the rest of the world. That was called colonization. And much like a colonoscopy, no one was very happy about it. Fun fact, those words have the same etymology. Now, through colonization, places like the Netherlands acquired parts of the Caribbean. The Spanish had long ago conquered the Aztecs and were spreading their culture throughout what is now Mexico. And Great Britain, well, in terms of taking over countries, Great Britain was like a dog in a room full of unattended sandwiches. If those sandwiches were countries. But you know what? The Byzantine Empire used to rule the world, and now Greece is known for being poor, so you haven't hit your rock bottom yet, have you? Not so Great Britain. Now, with no more earth to conquer, Europe was facing an existential crisis. Going to war against itself or living in harmony like a fucking loser. Having watched many Andrew Tate videos as a teenager, Europe decided to defeat her inner bitch twice. Turns out, neither of the world wars went so well. Its little big brother America even had to come and help out in 1948 with the Marshall Plan, which gave Europe some spending money, along with some regulations. In the same year, Europe made another mistake by allowing for the creation of Israel as thousands of Palestinians were displaced from their land. Europe had a bad reputation for starting fights, so they decided to prevent a third world war by creating a fake bond in front of witnesses, kind of like a green card wedding. Basically, the EU was formed by publicly lying to everyone about creating an everlasting bond just to hide the fact that they hate each other. Kind of like French President Macron and his wife. Nobody loves their French team. To avoid getting completely washed out by the US, 28 European countries had to gang up to compete with the mighty dollar, and they created a new currency, the euro. Although I preferred its original name, the loser coin. With the fading of borders, the EU quickly became a great place to exchange and share resources, like immigrants or mining licenses in the third world. Feeling nostalgic for their colonizer days, the EU has adopted Greece and Spain as their little Africa. Now the EU is a real circus. People simultaneously want to leave and join the EU. The UK left and regrets it. Croatia just joined and already regrets it. I haven't seen this much regret since any drunken best man speech at a wedding where the groom used to party. What does it mean for a country to be in the EU? Is it about access or economic stability or each member state eventually having their own version of the kebab? As we learned earlier, the blurred lines of the map have not helped anyone get better at geography. Right now, American students brag about taking a gap year in Europe. Someday, they should learn the name of the country they're going to, and the language. But on the plus side, at least this war prevention union worked extremely well because it's not like there's an impending nuclear war that's threatening our safety and security. Well, that's what we get for putting Brussels in charge. So what have we learned? Europe is just as complicated of a place to describe as it is to pick out on a map. There's no one language, religion, dress code, or cuisine, but everyone does seem to have a piece of spinning meat at 2 a.m. We will never be able to explain Europe comprehensively because it's always evolving. What we are committed to doing is bringing you the news that happens in, affects, or is created by Europe, because no one else is doing it. Some call us a hero, others call us a gyro, others call us Euro. But if Boris Johnson can bring your attention to the need for proper hygiene, then we can bring your attention to Europe, right here, every 2 weeks. Please put your hands together for the very funny Kevin James Doyle.
Hello, how you guys doing? Am I the first one to, I can't not say it. I was like, don't say it. And EuropeLate. I know, I was back there, I was like, don't, but no one said it yet, so I'm gonna say EuropeLate. There you go, I like that guy's laugh. When I was in high school, my girlfriend's mom had 9 fingers, and I always wanted to ask her about it. And I was like, hey, is anything, has that ever affected your life or anything? And she said this, I swear. She said, yeah, it's affected me in a good way. I get 10% off manicures now. I demand it. And at the time, I was like, that's so cheap and weird, but I didn't pay my bills at the time. And now I'm an adult, and I went into the barbershop recently, and I was like, can I have half off? And they're like, why? And I was like, huh? So thank you, Mrs. Ringer. Guys, I saw Moulin Rouge the other day.
Ooh.
I did. I saw Moulin Rouge the other day, and we were right next to this couple that was from Dallas, and you could just see Dallas, Texas, like old school. This guy like had a lot of money or didn't have a lot of money, but spent a lot of money, and his wife was so excited to watch the entire show, and he was just bored every few minutes because there's a lot of guys in sequined suits and top hats for a long time. Like, there's just guys dancing on stage, and you'd see this guy just be like, what the hell did I spend $250 on? And then I just would get to see him light up because like 40 women with their boobs out would come out, and he was like, oh, hell yeah. That is what I was here for. Is anyone here on a date tonight? Anybody? Raise your hand. You are. Wow, this is, if for the live studio audience, you guys don't see this at home. He said yes, and I don't think she said yes. I I think you guys need to talk about this. I don't have any deal breakers in dating. I have one deal breaker since I've been over in Paris, and that's that the girl cannot have tuberculosis. And I know you can laugh and you could be like, why would anyone? Okay, listen. La Boheme, the most popular opera ever written, Moulin Rouge, Les Mis, all these wafy bitches are dying of tuberculosis at the end, okay? So I read all these influential pieces of literature and all these movies and all these operas, and I was like, there's no way I'm going out, falling in love with some French girl, and then she's like, and dies a month later. It's not gonna happen. If a girl even coughs a little bit, I grab her napkin, I make sure there's not blood in it. I'm not gonna let it happen. I did go on a date with a girl the day before thank you. Thank you. That's been my time. I've got maybe a second one coming up. We'll see it. No, I went on a date with a girl, and we were on our way to our first time meeting. And she sent me a voice message on my phone. And it popped up, so I listened to it. And she said, "Hey, Kevin, I'm really excited to meet you. I just wanted to let you know that this is the first date that I'm going on since I've started my journey into queerness." And I was like, cool. I don't know what that means, but cool. She only saw a few pictures of me, and we chatted like 10 messages back and forth. And I just found it really surprising that she started her journey into queerness with a straight white guy. She was like, I'm queer now. I'm going to go out with a guy that looks like he was probably at the January 6th Capitol riots, huh? She's like, to start my journey into queerness, I'm going to go out with a guy who looks like Louis C.K. went on a diet. I don't know. It was one date. That was it. Okay, this is European. I don't know. Is Ireland in Europe? Sorry, I'm stupid. Okay, I'm only telling you guys about this date because of the country. But does anyone spy pre-dates? Do you spy on the people before you ever meet them? Okay, good. All the girls said yes, and all the guys are like, I don't do that. Yes, we know how Google works too. You can reverse image search people, by the way. It's very creepy, but I fucking do it. I don't care. I saw a girl on the red carpet of something, and so I was like, I'm gonna find out what she was on the red carpet for. And then I read her entire IMDb. She didn't even tell me she was an actress. So then it's the first date, and it was both of our first date after like 2 years not like having any like romantic contact from the pandemic. And she was like, "What do you do?" I was like, "Oh, I'm a comedian." She's like, "How's that going?" I was like, "Well, it's not really happening right now, but I do have a podcast. How are things going for you? What do you do for work?" And she's like, "Oh, I'm an actress." And I was like, "Really?" Oh, that's crazy. Meanwhile, you guys don't know her IMDb. I already know this, so I know this information. I'd be like, "Oh, have you worked on anything interesting?" She's like, "Oh, yeah, I was in a fantasy film, just a few years before the pandemic." And I was like, "Oh, what was it?" She's like, "Oh, it's the Harry Potter series." And I was like, "Really? Wow." I was like, have you done anything else? And she's like, "Well, I was cut from a film, right before, and it was really hard but the director JJ told me that, the director JJ said he was gonna, help me out with some other projects." And I was like, "What? Who's JJ?" And she's like, "JJ Abrams." And I was like, "Oh, so it was Star Wars." She's like, "Yeah." I was like, "Well, that one wasn't in the IMDb." And she's like, "What?" I was like, "Nothing." Nothing at all. And then she said this. This is will always forever be burned in my memory of just knowing that it's not gonna have a second date. She says she was in Star Wars and Harry Potter. And then it was quiet for a second. She was just like, "So how's your podcast coming along?" "How's your cute little podcast coming along?" She got way more. I think I just played it more up as Irish after, But yeah, she's great. Hi, I'm not going to say her name because this is going to be on the internet. But I did fall in love with you. I fell in love with her so hard that I was imagining. She had like super red hair. She was like very Irish. And I was just daydreaming about like our 12-year-old son getting bullied for being a ginger. I was like way far out in the future. I was like, we need to go to school and we need to say they cannot treat him like this. All right. Can I tell you guys, I feel like we're on like a little relationship discussion right now. So I'll tell you guys about a breakup. Can I tell you a breakup story? And it's a powerful, this is a good way to get through a breakup, okay? I was at 7-Eleven. I don't think you guys have them over here, do you? It's the saddest place that you could be in America, okay? It's they have drinks and everything, but they actually have their own little grill where they have hot dogs that just turn all day, and they even have hamburgers in the shape of hot dogs. And they just cook all day, and I had just gone through a breakup, and so, obviously, I was at 7-Eleven. And I was standing in line for some food. You can tell, it's not going well. It's very sad. And I was standing there, kind of bummed out, and I heard the voice of Cher above me. And Cher said, "Do you believe in life after love? I can feel something inside me say,
I really don't think it's strong enough."
holy shit, you guys are good. There was even like some like level. That was so I'm standing there and I had to, as Cher was on there, I had to be like, can I have a hot dog? Do you believe in life after love? And I'll have a hot burger. I can feel something inside me say, I'll have another hot burger. I really don't think it's strong enough, no. And I was standing there with 2 hot burgers and a hot dog, and I began to cry in 7-Eleven. And then Cher said, "And I know that I'll get through this, 'cause I know that I am strong. I don't need you anymore." And I was like, I'm gonna make it through this. And I paid for my food, and then I threw it in the trash, and I went home, and I was like, I'm gonna get over her. And I did, so thank you, Cher. That's it. That's my time. Thank you, and thank you, Sadra. You're up late, aren't you? We'll see you guys later.
One more time for Kevin James Doyle. Yes, that was great. Kevin, where can the people find you?
The people can find me right now at EuropeLate, currently. No, Kevin James Doyle on Instagram. And I have a comedy special on Amazon Prime if anyone wants to watch it, called The 30-Year-Old Virgin. I'm 37 now, so whatever. And yeah, Kevin James Doyle.
Amazing. One more time for Kevin, everyone. Thank you so much. This has been the first edition of Europe Late. Thank you for coming out. My name is Sadra Sumner. Arrivederci. See you next time.
Europe Late is created and produced by Nick Mailing, hosted by Sadra Sumner, shot by Wojtek, written by Omar Kamel and Aretsky Shugar, with Anna Empaziani, Anna Beth, James Blose, and Alex Morgan. Filmed live at Le Passage vers les Étoiles in beautiful Paris, France.